Welcome to Jackets TV, presented by Ohio Health. A pleasure to visit with Pierre McGuire of NBC Sports, as you well know, TSN, and Sports Illustrated. And a big move in the National Hockey League next year with the Blue Jackets moving to the East.
That's huge. It's huge for the National Hockey League. It's huge for the fans in Columbus. But more than anything else, it's bad news for a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference. I think with Detroit and Columbus moving into the East, Jeff, it's going to be very, very difficult for some of the teams that missed the playoffs this year to make them next year. I really believe Detroit and Columbus will both make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference.
Really? A bold statement here in the offseason.
Yeah, it's not even that bold. I think it's legit. If you think about how close Columbus was after their horrific start last year and to where they reeled it into to get into the playoff position that they were in almost at the end of the year in a very difficult Western Conference, I think it's going to be a lot easier for them to make it in the East. The East is not nearly as strong as the West.
Interesting thought there, because Paul Maurice, who now resides in Columbus after coaching in Russia last year, talking to him a few weeks ago, he said that he feels that it's going to be difficult for Eastern hockey clubs, Eastern Conference teams, to handle the Blue Jackets.
I totally agree with him. I couldn't agree more with him. I think the biggest thing is the pace of the game in the West is far greater than the pace of the game in the East. That's number one. Number two, people aren't going to respect Columbus enough early on, and then they're going to find out, holy moly, these guys are for real. You think about the character on the Columbus Blue Jackets team right now. I know what Jarmo Kekalainen and John Davidson would like to try to do with the team. More character, more speed, more skill. They're going to just keep getting better, and then you look at the dynamic goaltending position, obviously with Bobrovsky. That's huge for Columbus.
What are your thoughts on the Jackets? I know for several years you ran TSN's coverage of the draft. Nobody knows more about many of the young kids that are today playing in the National Hockey League and were just draft picks a few years ago. You talked so long about the 2003 draft, for instance, and look at what those players have done. You've got a lot of interest in the Blue Jackets young players. Can you talk about that?
One in particular, Ryan Murray. I think Ryan Murray is going to be just a dynamic player in the National Hockey League. He's one of those shutdown guys you have to have if you're going to be successful. He's got character. He's got grace under fire. He really handles all these mature situations really well. I think he's the one player fans can look to and say, man, oh man, has our scouting staff done a real good job.
What about Dalton Prout? Here's a kid that joined the hockey club in mid-season and old-time defenseman, I'd say.
Yeah, I would say a throwback. I think that's more than fair to say. But you like players like that, right? Because they bring character, they bring grit, they bring passion. The one thing you find out the longer you do this, you can never underestimate the importance of size, of grit, of character. I watched Boston and Chicago play a hellacious Stanley Cup final this year, Jeff, and the one thing that definitely stood out for both teams, how hard it is to win, but the importance of character. If you don't have character, you're not making it to the Stanley Cup final.
What are your thoughts on, and you do a lot of travel, obviously, during the course of the year with NBC, but the Blue Jackets now moving to an Eastern time zone, basically, situation, as compared to having to travel out west and the fans having to see those games at 10:30?
You're going to be able to sleep a lot better, number one. Number two, ratings should go up. Number three, it should be easier on the players. You won't see nearly as many players breaking down due to injury. Time zone travel, salacious in the Western Conference. You won't have that kind of time zone travel in the East. But I think the biggest thing is I look at some Matt Calvert's a good example. Had a tremendous breakout year, I thought, last year, and the fact that they re-signed him is great news for them. But the biggest thing is a player like that, now he's not going to have to worry about time zone travel. He's not going to have to worry about sitting on a plane for 5.5 hours. Now all he has to do is just go play. And as well as he played last year, he'll play even better this year.
Trade partners with the Rangers and the Blue Jackets on a couple of occasions. Now they're going to go head-to-head against one another. A lot of players change teams.
Yes, sir. That's more than fair to say. It'll be interesting to see how Anisimov and Dubinsky in particular handle going up against Rick Nash and obviously Brassard and what's gone on there. John Moore had a tremendous year with the New York Rangers after he was acquired. It should be fun. There's so many great storylines for Columbus, for the Rangers, for Philadelphia, for all these teams in the Eastern Conference now with Detroit and Columbus coming in.
In closing, sounds like you'd like to see one or two Blue Jacket games on NBC.
I'm trying to work for it right now. I like going there. I like visiting with John. Obviously, I like visiting with you, and I'm a very close friend of Jarmo Kekalainen, so I'm really excited about what's going on in Columbus.
Thanks for the visit.
Anytime, sir.
Pierre McGuire of NBC Sports, TSN, Sports Illustrated, joining us here, and thank you for joining us on Jackets TV.